it's Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a review for X-treme X-men issue 1, which is a new X-Men series. I think there's another one coming out next week, or maybe week after, but it's like new X-Men. So there's a lot of new X-Men titles coming out, especially for Adventures vs. X-Men. They're probably like, Marvel's like, let's get more money. Let's get more X-Men titles, you know? Like, we had so many X-Men titles. I think we have like 8 X-Men titles now, so that's a lot. Hopefully they kind of like say, oh, we'll get new ones, we'll see which ones are the best, and then we'll cancel some of the ones that aren't, you know, and I think that's a good idea, but we'll see if they actually do that, especially with Marvel Now coming. But before we start this review, I just want to say, guys, don't forget to follow, don't forget to vote for my, Geeky Award YouTube, thing I'm doing, so please, vote, and in the comments below, vote on that video. I've been really getting a lot of success with it, and thank you guys for who have been voting. Thank you so much. I just want to get those YouTubers noticed, you know, they really do deserve it, so thank you. But let's start this review for X-treme X-men issue 1. This is really good cover. Let's talk about the cover, but this is a really good cover. Yeah, this is actually my favorite cover for this week. Really good art. It made me interested for the issue, but mostly I got interested in this issue because I'm a Dazzler fan, not the humongous Dazzler fan, but you really don't get to see Dazzler that much. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. It seems like she will be a main character in this series, so I was like, let me pick it up. I liked her solo series in like the 80s or 90s. I thought it was pretty good, and you know, she's not really seen that much, so let's see more of her character. And that's one of the reasons I picked it up. And then I was like reading more about it, and I was like, oh, it's like Emma Frost and you know, Wolverine and Nightcrawler in a different universe. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And also for those Nightcrawler fans, you know, when Nightcrawler died in Second Coming, that'd be like, oh, Nightcrawler, we need to pick it up. So it looked interesting. It wasn't just, it seemed different from the other X-Men titles. Like, new X-Men seemed like, alright, that looks, in my opinion, it looks kind of stupid. I was like, oh, this is just a repeat of every other X-Men title, you know, Wolverine is in it, like, Wolverine's in this one too, which is another thing. Maybe we need a little less Wolverine, even though I love Wolverine. I just think he's in so many titles, it gets boring, you know, if you have Wolverine in so many titles. He has his own title, he has Wolverine and X-Men. Actually, he has more than his own title. He has 2 of his own titles, and he's on other teams, he's on Avengers, you know, he's on a lot of books. I feel like, you know, if you use him less, I think that's really a really good story, you know, good story tip. If you use a character that people love less, they're going to want them more. And I actually learned that. I remember once an interview with Julie Plec, who writes the Vampire Diaries. People were like, oh, why don't you bring Catherine in more if you see the show? It's one of, like, a favorite character of people. I was like, you know, we want her not to be so not fresh, you know, stale. We don't want her to be that. We actually want her to, people like her, and that's why we have her, like, maybe once every 5 episodes, you know? So, I think they should do that with some of their good characters, you know? Make us want them, not spread them, like, each week we have to read, like, 7 Wolverine titles, you know? Spread them out a little, and I think that's a good, story tip. But let's talk about the story of this issue. Let's see what's going on. Like I said, it's different universes. Kurt, Wolverine, and Emma Frost, they go to a different universe. Cyclops is like, oh, Dazzler, help us. We need your powers. And she does her little guitar thing, and then all 4 of them, the people from the other universe, and Dazzler, they go to a different universe, talks to you know, Professor Xavier from that universe, who's a floating head, and Professor Xavier says that, oh, help our universe, and you have to go to these different dimensions to stop all my Professor Xavier floating heads, and, there's about, like, 5,000 of them, so you have to jump, different dimensions, and that's what happens in this issue. And to tell you the truth, when I was describing this issue, I was like, does this sound as stupid as it sounds? I mean, is it as stupid as it sounds? Because, like, I was reading it, I was like, I actually like this. It was a good issue, as when I'm reading it. And then when I'm describing it, it sounds so stupid. I don't know. Like, one thing I was very worried about with, this series is that you're not really giving that much story, you know, for upcoming issues. You're like, it's one, you ever see, this is a really old, it's not an old show, but it's like, it wasn't a really good show, but, Lilo and Stitch had, drop my comic, but they had a Disney TV show. It was talking about like the experiments and like Stitch's cousins and whatever. So it's kind of like that they're always a planned story. It's like he always had to get a cousin because that was its story. You know, that's why it kind of sucked. Also, it just wasn't as good as the movie, but it was always a planned story. This is like kind of really like it's gonna be for X-treme X-men. It's like, this week, which floating head are we gonna get? It's like, this week, what experiment are we gonna get from Lilo and Stitch? It's like kind of like that thing. It really doesn't make you grow. You can't get more story from that. And also, this is not really a team either in this issue. It's more of like a coincidence that they're in the same universe. And then reading with Dazzler's, I do like Dazzler, I really do. But another thing is that she's very underestimated because her powers aren't that great, you know? I mean, I love Dazzler, I really do. She's a good character, but her powers really suck. I'm sorry, but like I was looking at her, at least in this, they could have done more in this issue. So she gets her guitar out. Like every single time she's gonna fight, she's gonna get her guitar out. So like for this, just the writer, how they wrote her. Maybe she, like with her light thing, she could do different stuff. But really, every single time I'm gonna take the guitar out, you know. Like, it's like kind of stupid in this, how they used her power. I mean, they could have used her power and made it like better, like, you know, like light powers out of music is not a great power, you know. X-Men, there's other X-Men that have better powers, but depending on the writer, they can make it better, you know. And I wish they kind of did that in this issue, but they really didn't. But it's still, I'm glad that they also showed, they showed in the beginning, Dazzler's looking at some street performer, right? Seeing that they're copying her, you know, oh, it's like, Dazzler's like, oh, I like her music, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's like, because she's like, oh, it's cool that, you know, people are, you know, kind of inspired by me. And then you see how different that Dazzler is, you know? And this is a perfect example. Dazzler has just changed so much. She's changed from that disco queen person, and she's changed a lot. And they do describe her character a lot in this, and I like that. They show, like, who her character is, you know? I like that. I like that she's changed a lot, and they show that in this issue. She's actually changed her appearance a lot, and I think that's really how her character changed. Her dialogue was okay in this issue. There's some stuff where, like, kind of cheesy. She's like, the B-sides totally rocks, and she's like, takes the octopus out, and, well, let me finish that sentence. They're like, you're not going anywhere, big guy. You don't want to worry. The B-side totally rocks. So, yeah, some of the stuff is kind of cheesy. But, yeah, so this is like, when explaining it in this review, I think I liked it more before, but I don't know, it was an okay issue. It was a good start, I guess. I give it a 3. I still think you should pick it up. It is worth reading, but it is a little ridiculous, some of the stuff. Like I said, the dialogue, like, where are they going to go from here, you know? It's going to be like, what floating head are we going to get next, you know? But it's still a good story. It shows, like, who Dazzler is somewhat, you know? It shows that, I mean, like I said, Dazzler is not the strongest character, but, you know, it should be interesting to see how she teams up with all these different universe versions of Emma Frost and, you know, Nightcrawler and Wolverine, and see how she kind of joins a team, even though it's like a coincidence. Like I said, it's more of a coincidence thing than it was joining a team, and that's what I thought the X-treme X-men were going to be, but it's not really a team. It's just like Dazzler kind of just got stuck doing it. If you read this, you'll see what I mean by that. But again, it's a 3. It's really in between pick up or not pick up. I was going to give it a 3.5, but I was like, reading it and talking about it, it's really, because some of it is kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to give it a 3, and I say pick it up. You know, it's a struggle saying picking up, but pick it up. Give it a try. So this is Comic Uno. Hope you guys enjoyed. Guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Random Situations. See you guys.